Welcome, everyone. We are glad that you can join us tonight for the Athletics at Carthage virtual visit. We wish that you were all able to visit us in person, but since we can't do this or do that at this time, we're glad that you can visit and learn more about Carthage through this event. Kelsey, our athletic director, is going to be speaking with the group tonight. And then also we have 3 of our coaches available. And then we have 2 current student athletes that will be available for part of the question and answer session as well. If you're new to webinar or if this is your first time watching this type of virtual event, there is a chat feature at the bottom of your screen. So if you have any questions throughout the presentation here this evening, you can drop it into the chat. Or there's also the Q&A feature as well. This event is being recorded. So if there's someone in your family who would like to watch it later, or if you would like to share it with a family member or friend, we will have it available tomorrow on our website. You know, we are getting many questions at this point about what's going to be happening in the fall. And know that we are doing everything that we can, and our intention is to be an on-campus residential experience for our students here in September, you know, unless the federal government would intervene. But, you know, we have a lot of people in place to make those decisions for our students and to make sure that we are making the right decision. But please know that it is our intention that we will be on campus in the fall. So to get us started, I would like to introduce Kelsey Peterson, our interim athletic director.
All right, got sound, we've got video. Hi everyone, my name is Kelsey Peterson. I am the interim athletic director here at Carthage. I'm really glad to be able to join you all, and hopefully we can get some good questions, and I hope this is informative. I'm sure many of you are current student athletes, you know, in high school. And if you're still looking for options for next fall, I'm glad you're here and considering Carthage. So now I'm going to switch over to a quick presentation, and then we can get into some questions that you all have, and have the coaches and the student athletes contribute to that. All right, so hopefully you all can see a PowerPoint.
Yes, Kelsey.
Okay, good. New to this, so everybody just bear with me, and we'll get into it. So in this webinar tonight, I wanted to just give an overview of NCAA D3 and you know, why athletes might choose to go to a D3 institution, and then I'll go into a little bit of what those D3 sports look like here at Carthage, and what makes our experience here unique and just so great. We're in a really great place, and we have a lot of great teams and a lot of great success. So I'll just jump into it. All right, so I know you could probably see my little thumbnail, but threw my picture up here, and then a couple other folks in our department. So like I said, I'm the interim athletic director. And we also have Mike Swartz, who is an assistant AD for communications. And then Cassie Lau is our faculty athletic representative. She is a liaison for you know, our athletic side, and helps us communicate and work with faculty and professors. So she's a great resource. Every NCAA institution, whether it's D1, D2, or D3, they all have faculty athletic representatives. So it's just a great resource for us. And like Ashley said, we do have a few coaches on this call also. So when we get to the Q&A session, I'll have a chance to introduce them. All right, so jumping into NCAA Division III. So D3 is the largest division of all 3 divisions. So there's about 450 active members right now, so 450 institutions. Majority of those schools are similar to us in that they are private institutions, so about 80% of that total number are similar to us. So we make up a really large portion of a lot of the schools that you see that are similar to us. So I'm sure many of you might already know this, but what kind of sets Division III apart? So we focus on the whole student athlete experience, and that means we don't give any athletic scholarships, any scholarships that are related to your athletic ability. We really like to focus on high academics and athletics, again, with the focus on what's going to be preparing you for life after college, getting into the workforce and having a great experience while you're in college, being successful academically, but also still getting to continue your experiences from high school and club, and just elevating that level of play. Just because we're D3 doesn't mean that we don't have really high level of competition. We have some amazing teams and athletes that play at the national level year in and year out. So just being D3 does not mean that it's a lesser level of play. It just means we're also just shifting a lot of our focus on academics and making sure it's a really well-rounded experience for all of our student athletes. So why D3? Why would you maybe consider playing at a Division III institution rather than trying to get to, a D1 or D2 or NAIA? So the NCAA asks this of our student athletes all the time, and what kind of comes back from the student athletes at D3 institutions are these main areas where they feel like they really get an elevated experience. So if you are at a D3 institution playing a sport, you would also be able to fit in time to play in other extracurriculars, joining other student orgs. Our student athletes in general, they graduate at about 5% higher rate than the regular student body. So again, just really focusing on getting through the entire college experience, however long that takes, 4 or 5 years, like just getting you here and getting you to get that degree. A lot of our teams do a lot of outreach, and community service is really important. I mean, that's one of the pillars of NCAA Division III. And just in all of that, by doing all of these things and being involved in the community and on campus, we really just have a good sense of community amongst our other students, and can really experience that in some of our game days. We have some really great games and some great crowds and a lot of support from the other students, and it really just makes the experience really special. So yeah, so that's why D3 is just it's a great opportunity to build that community and get the full well-rounded experience. Also, a lot of our student athletes are able to, apart from being involved in student orgs and fraternities or sororities, they're also able to hold part-time jobs, if they would like to make some more money during the school year. So there's ways to fit all of that into your time here and really make the most of it. All right, so now looking a little bit more, some specifics about Carthage. So we are in the College Conference of Illinois and Wisconsin, the CCIW. We're a really, really strong athletic conference. We had some really great contenders. And you can kind of see here across all the states where all the rest of our schools are located. So we're currently at 24 teams. We will be at 27 teams getting into this next academic year. We had just added men's and women's wrestling and women's bowling. So those coaches have been here on campus this past year working on recruiting and building those teams so we can get into this next year right off the bat and have really strong teams. So we're really excited to see that. We make up a really large percent of our students here on campus. We are about 25%, over 675 student athletes, and that number is just going to keep on growing as we have added these sports and continue to get some great recruits for our teams. So it's really exciting to look forward to. All right, so here you can see some of the pictures of some of our awesome facilities. Here at Carthage, we really just like to stress our commitment to excellence. And some of these slides, some of this information, I deliver the same type of information to our student athletes when they get to campus, when I go over compliance and expectations. So I think it's important for potential students and student athletes like yourself to also know what's kind of the expectation when you get here and if you participate on a team. So, being D3 with the focus being on academics, we really do expect our student athletes to excel in the classroom. So, going to class and being proactive and making sure that you're taking care of your academics so you're able to stay eligible to participate in your sports. And just be a really good representation of our athletic department and Carthage as a whole. A lot of our teams, they're out and about going to other states and other schools. And so just making sure that they're representing Carthage and Carthage athletics to the best of their ability. And another way to do this is, when we're competing, we try to do so with a lot of class and be good sports and practice good sportsmanship. That's really important to us as well. And so that's something that we continue to strive for and work on. And like I mentioned already, we have these awesome facilities and we hope to get you here and to see them and, walk around and get to see inside TARC and go out to Art Keller Field and check out our pool and our baseball field. We have awesome facilities. So we'd love to have you all here on campus and get to see these for yourself. And we take a lot of respect and pride in taking care of our facilities. So they're great to see in person. And we really do try to take care of what we have because it's pretty great. And like I mentioned already, we do like to get out in the community and support other schools. We partner with Special Olympics quite a bit. That's NCAA Division III partners with Special Olympics, just one of its continuing partners. And so a lot of times if we have events, we also like to invite our local Special Olympics chapter. And so it's a great bond, and it's a great experience for both our student athletes and the Special Olympians. All right, so again, just a little bit more about our commitment to excellence. This is just kind of a bragging moment for me. And so these were some of our champions this is from last year. But when I last, presented this information, I was able to throw on women's volleyball, who they made it to the Final Four just this past fall. So some really great athletes that put in a ton of work, and a lot of great coaches that are also working year round to coach these student athletes and to also bring in great new talent and work on growing the programs. So I just always have to brag a little bit about some of the great things that our teams have done most recently. So how do we get to that kind of that winning moment and getting to the national championships and winning conference championships? It takes a lot of effort and a lot of commitment from the coaches and from the student athletes. So our coaches, they're out and they are recruiting year round. It's a never-ending process. So they're going to high school games and they're going to the club tournaments. A lot of recruiting can be done online, which I'm sure a lot of that's happening right now. So there's a lot of different services that allow high school club student athletes to get their information out there. I know NCSA, Be Recruited, those are a couple of big ones that work with a lot of different sports, but I know there's also some sport specific ones that could also be available, and maybe some of the coaches could talk about that a little bit later. And also it's great when a prospective student athlete reaches out to a head coach or an assistant coach directly. This is something that I really like to push because it takes a lot of courage to put yourself out there and to send your information or to give a coach a call and just introduce yourself. But I think that's also another good way to get your information out there and maybe have your name stick. I also think it's really important to emphasize that it should be you, the student, doing that outreach and sending those emails rather than a parent. Again, I think it just speaks to your level of responsibility, and I think that's a good way to go about it. So apart from our coaches, our student athletes, when they're here, they're training all the time. The NCAA kind of structures what's allowed for teams to be together as a group and being coached by the coach. So that's your traditional season, and you usually have a non-traditional season. And that in total over the whole school year equals about 19 weeks. So winter sports are a little bit different. That's a continuous time that spans from fall semester to spring semester. But again, it's equaling out to about 19 weeks. When you're not in your traditional season or your non-traditional season or outside of those 19 weeks, the student athletes are more or less on their own to get in a lot of the work and a lot of the strength and conditioning and getting ready for the next season. So that's where athletes kind of have to step up and hold themselves accountable to put in that work to make sure that they're ready for whatever's coming up in the next season. All right, so I thought that this was interesting to include, and again, this is coming from the NCAA surveying current student, or actually these are student athletes that had just recently graduated from Division III institutions, and asking them to look back on their experience and what they felt like they got out of it, if they would change anything. So this bubble with all the different words, time, school, nothing. That's what came from. They asked, what could you change? What would you change about your experience when you were here? So biggest was time. Even though you're able to do all these things, it just still doesn't feel like it's enough time to get it all in. But I thought what was really surprising is the next thing, biggest thing, was nothing. They wouldn't have changed a thing about their experience. And so it's a lot that you have to commit to. Being a D3 student athlete, between classes, practice, competition, a lot of our teams also take some special trips that they fundraise for and are able to go to some fun things over different breaks. And they also hold part-time jobs, are involved in those extracurriculars outside of the sport, and then participating in Greek life as well. So it's a lot to handle, but this is the time to really try to do all that you can. You only have these chances for a limited time, so I think our student athletes really do a great job of taking advantage of what's all available to them here. And this is another area that I really like to brag. So one of my main duties at Carthage is compliance and eligibility. So I have to make sure that our student athletes are academically eligible to participate and compete in a sport. So I do I do checks on grades and GPA every semester and in between the semesters. So it's a lot of work, but fortunately we have a lot of teams and a lot of student athletes that they do take this so seriously. It really does reflect in some of our overall and cumulative GPAs here. So last year we had over 220 student athletes that were at or above 3.5 GPA, which is pretty great. Cumulative GPA for all of our student athletes is a 3.18. And then of our 24 teams, we had 16 teams that had cumulative GPAs above 3.2. So I think that's pretty spectacular, and it takes a lot of effort and a lot of time management from our student athletes. So it's a lot of hard work year round. But to get to that academic success, and it can take some help from others on campus. So we do have a lot of resources that that are here, and not only for our student athletes, but for all of our students. So I would just like to always show off, all the different ways that our campus tries to help our students and student athletes get those high grades and maintain high GPAs. So we have, a tutoring center, writing center, peer coaches, college success seminar, and then we also utilize the student outreach system. So if there ever is a concern or an issue that maybe a coach might notice with a student athlete, or a faculty member might notice about a student athlete, we have a great system that allows us to communicate. So if something happens on one end of campus, the rest of us are also finding out about it, and we can help make sure that whoever the concern is about, that they're doing okay, and just making sure that we're doing our part in reaching out. So I think that's pretty special, and it allows for a really well-rounded support system for students and all student athletes, everyone. And a lot of our coaches do implement their own measures to help make sure their team is doing well academically, and so that could be the study tables, or just doing weekly check-ins, and that's sometimes that one-on-one time is where our coaches can really learn, like, hey, what's going on that's what's going really well right now? Is there anything that you're concerned about just in this next upcoming week? So it's nice just having that check-in, and sometimes you learn more just in those short 15-20 minute times with individual athletes of what's really going on in their life. So that's really kind of a quick overview. I'm going to figure out how to stop sharing this, and then we can get into some Q&A.
Thanks, Kelsey. And while Kelsey's taking that off, we'll have Coach Seth, Coach Beth, Coach Leanne, and then our two current students, Mike and Zoe, if they would be able to take off or show their videos and unmute themselves, that would be great. All right, we got
Like the Brady Bunch.
it is.
Yeah, it's a wonderful Brady Bunch.
So good to see all of you guys. Thank you for coming out and speaking with our students. We have over 110 students and their families on with us this evening. And so if we could have our coaching staff introduce themselves, a little background, and then we'll also have Mike and Zoe introduce themselves as well. So why don't we start with Coach Leanne and then move to Seth and Beth.
Yeah, hi, I'm Coach Ulmer. I'm the head women's volleyball coach here at Carthage. I've been here for 19 years and I've loved every minute of it. Love what I do. We've had a ton of success, and I'm just really proud of the student athletes that have chosen Carthage and chosen to play volleyball. It's an honor to coach all of them.
Seth, you want me to go?
Oh yeah, Beth, you go.
Hi, I'm Coach Beth. I am the head women's swim and diving coach. I have been at Carthage for 12 years now, and we just finished up our season. We had our conference championships in February, and we were set to send 4 people to nationals before everything got a little crazy, but we won our 3rd conference championship this year. So very proud of our team, and looking to keep building from that.
And I'm Seth Weidman. I'm the men's swimming and diving coach here at Carthage. Been here 6 years. And, the men's team is always trying to keep up with the women's team. So similarly, we were on pace to send 4 team members to nationals in Greensboro, North Carolina. But NCAA called off championships about 3 days before we were going to leave. So obviously that was a little bit of a bummer, but we were able to still finish out our conference season with a 4th conference championship in a row. So it's been a lot of fun and success lately.
My name's Mike Motika. I'm currently a junior at Carthage. I'm from Chicago, Illinois. I'm majoring in psychology with a biology minor. I'm also have 2 on-campus jobs, and then I'm also involved in service fraternities, academic fraternities, and other clubs and organizations on campus.
I'm Zoe. I'm a sophomore and I'm on the women's golf team. I'm from the Metro Detroit area of Michigan. I am studying marketing with a minor in economics, and including women's golf. I am in a social sorority, in academic fraternity, and I have 3 on-campus jobs.
Great. Thanks, everyone. So for the students and families out there today, you're welcome to ask questions in the chat feature. We've gotten quite a few already to get us started. We will try to make sure we get all of your questions answered this evening. And so the first question is, do athletes typically room together in the residence halls or not?
From my experience, I roomed with someone who was also coming in as a volleyball player, and I knew a lot of other volleyball players that roomed with other volleyball players. The way it works is that people, when you first sign up for where you want to live, you'll kind of request a roommate, and usually the coaches kind of pair you up with another incoming freshman, and to just kind of make it easier to connect with them. And then you kind of just talk about it, and you guys kind of both put each other down that you want to live with each other. And then usually most of the time you will get that person if you guys both requested each other. So yeah.
Yeah, I would echo Mike's point and just add that, I think a lot of coaches just kind of give that as an option, right? So I think Mike's experience is very typical, because most coaches ask, hey, what are your interests as far as rooming goes when you get to that rooming portion. But yeah, I know a lot of coaches also will at least tell athletes to request being with another athlete, regardless of whether it's your exact sport, but even just being with another athlete really kind of helps, because you understand each other's unique schedules.
I would agree on that as well. My freshman year, I roomed with somebody on my team, and it's a lot easier because your priorities are in the same place, where this year I didn't. And it's a little bit more of a struggle, so it just depends on the student. I know many students who don't room with other athletes, and they get along just fine, and everything's great for them.
Great, thank you. The next question is there ever a conflict with academic and athletic schedules? How is that handled?
Short answer is yes. There are a few conflicts. Sometimes we leave for a road trip when you're going to miss a class or two, but the professors in Carthage do a great job. Kelsey in our athletic department, we send out a weekly schedule to all the professors, letting them know who's traveling and when they're leaving and when they're expected to be back. All my students I know are really proactive with their professors. Make sure to talk to them ahead of time, give them the schedule, let them know when they'll be leaving and coming back. And it's just part of what we do at Carthage. It's part of the experience, and the professors are great about handling that. Some of the students can speak to it more.
Yeah, personally, I've never really had a huge conflict with it. I've known people who have a big conflict, especially when you get into playoffs and everything is unpredicted. You don't know what's going to happen, because if you keep winning, you stay where you traveled to. But you could also lose and then come back right away. So that's kind of the issue, is that you just don't know what's going to happen next. So I find it to be a little challenging communicating that with your professors and trying to get all the work in and just get missing work and stuff like that. But as far as like regular season goes, I mean, I would say communication is key, and just being able to communicate with your professors when you're going to miss, what assignments I'm going to miss. If you miss exams, they're very helpful to reschedule those exams and make sure you get those in and stuff like that. So
I think for championships is a good problem. We want to keep that type of problem. I just want to echo what Coach Ulmer said. So I help with sending out correspondence with professors for any athletes that would be missing competition, but like they both said, it's the student athlete's responsibility to make sure that they stay up on the work. And so if there ever is an issue, then we kind of have to revisit, making sure the priorities are still focusing on academics and being successful in the classroom. So yeah, it's a level of responsibility for sure for the student athletes.
Great. As a student athlete, can I do J-term?
For volleyball, yes. Maybe not for all the sports. I think most sports would probably allow it, although if you're a winter sport, that might not work out so well. For the fall sports and possibly the spring sports, but I think if you're a basketball player or whatever, swimming, I mean, the coaches can answer that. You'd be training at that time. So
Yeah, as a winter,
go
sorry.
ahead, Beth. No, it's okay.
As a winter sport, we leave that option open to the students. What's nice at Carthage is there are options to go on trips in May and June, so they can get the credit for J-term and take a later trip. So I think with that option, people who want to just go abroad for a short time have that, and or if they want to go in the fall and spring. So I think it's doable for any sport.
Great. Are there any GPA requirements that are required?
Kelsey, you can take this one.
Yeah, that's my wheelhouse. So our conference, the CCIW, sets standards that are expected of all of the schools in our conference, and they vary a little bit depending on if you're a freshman, sophomore, junior, senior, or what year you're going into your sport. So yeah, there's certain GPA minimum, and then also making sure that you're earning enough credits towards your degree. That's a big part of this, is making sure each semester you're making progress towards earning a degree. So anybody that would be interested in that, I'd be happy to share that whole breakdown. I could send some information out about that.
Great. This one's for their students. You know, this is a good food question. First off, is the meal plan, do you get enough food with your meal plan as an athlete?
I would say yes. I mean, we do have the cafeteria, which I wish you guys were able to see it and be there and eat there, but it's kind of like a buffet style. So it's really nice to be able to go in there after practice or even before practice for lunch. You just scan once and then you have all the options that you could eat. You could have like 5 plates full. Speaking from experience, like our whole team goes after practice or lifting, and you know, everyone has like 4 to 5 plates, goes for second rounds and stuff like that. So I definitely think they give a bunch of different options and a ton of food for athletes and just students in general. They do have a bunch of nutrition and dietary needs too. So Zoe, if you want to speak.
Yeah, no, pretty much everything that Mike just said. I know my team makes it priority to at least have dinner or lunch once a week together. And there are many members on my team who are either vegetarian or gluten-free or have some allergies, and they're really great about working with you for that and having options for everybody.
Great. One student asked, you know, if I'm an athlete, are there any extra costs that I have to pay, such as travel, uniforms, those type of things?
I would say it depends on the sport.
Yeah.
Specifically for men's volleyball, we do a lot of fundraising, you know, in our off season and then when we begin our season. So we do raise a ton of money. So that kind of like lowers costs. But, you know, sometimes, you know, if we, like this past year, we went to California and we decided to stay an extra day. So, you know, our coach just asked if we could just pitch in like an extra like $60 or something like that, just to kind of like cover the extra cost. So stuff like that I feel like might pop up, but I do know like a bunch of the sports do a lot of fundraising to kind of help lower that cost.
Yeah, it does depend on the sport, because like for golf, if you're a golfer, you've been golfing for a while, and like rain gear and that kind of stuff, it's just all stuff that we have of our own that we've already purchased. We don't do like a team set of rain gear or this or that, but we're not really spending that much out of pocket at all. I don't think I spent pretty much anything out of pocket besides buying myself a new like pullover this year.
Seth, it looks like we have a swimmer in the mix. It says, when will the men's swim team practice begin next fall?
Great question. So we And this goes for the women's too, in case there are any, and Beth can certainly follow up with me if I miss anything. Typically the men's and the women's swimming and diving teams start usually at the same date. Beth and I are still trying to nail that down. We know where it'll be within a week or two. We've never started our official practices later than October 1st. And we've never started them earlier than, I'll say, September 20th or so. So somewhere usually in that 3rd or 4th week of September is when we start our actual practices. Our first meet, our first competition is typically 4 weeks after that, towards the end of October.
Great. So during this COVID-19, how are you as coaches staying connected with your team since they are not on campus?
We are doing Zoom calls and any form of communication via phone or computer, but also just taking the time to send them strength and conditioning or workouts they can do from home to engage that part of them, because the professors are doing a good job to keep being students engaged academically. So we don't have swimmers that can jump in the pool, and I'm sure a lot of people can't get on the court or in the field, on the field like they want to. So just finding ways for them to stay active in the off season while we're not able to be together.
Coach Seth or Coach Almer, are you guys doing anything else differently in terms of outreach during the COVID?
Yeah, we're doing we did a TikTok video. That was fun. We peppered TikTok way. That was fun. That was the first thing we did. We've done some Zoom meetings and kind of as a large group, and then we've broken it up into smaller groups. We've been texting. We have a group message that we send out, checking in on everybody, making sure they're doing well. We're just trying to connect, and I know the girls are connecting between themselves as well. So every couple of weeks we're trying to connect, and I think this next one we're going to try to play some kind of a game.
And yeah, I would say the same thing, a lot of individual one-on-one, small group and whole group. Certainly goes for Zoom, Google Hangouts, FaceTime, just texting. The guys have a group me that I think they have a separate group. They probably have one group me that I'm on and one that I'm not. So, and that's fine. The one unique thing that I'd say the most unique thing we're gonna try to do, and Beth is gonna join me on this one. The men's and the women's swimming and diving teams are gonna do because we tried to do an end of year banquet. This year we were gonna do a grill out. That was our plan. We were gonna do a grill out at Petrifying Springs Park, which is a really beautiful county park, not too far from campus. So instead we're gonna do a virtual BYO BBQ. And people will do their own grilling at home, and we'll hang out and grill together and eat together.
And there's going to be a prize for whoever's food looks the best.
Yes.
That's awesome. Mike and Zoe, how are you guys staying connected with your teams?
My coach texts or calls us at least 1 to 2 times a week, just checking in on how we're doing mentally and academically. And then we actually had our first Zoom call a week and a half ago. It was really nice to see everybody's faces, and we planned out a TikTok that we're going to do with each other. So, yeah.
Yeah, like everyone else, I mean, my coach has been keeping up like with Zoom calls with us. He does one-on-ones with us like once every week or two, just kind of checking in on school and stuff like that, make sure we're, going along with everything going on with this quarantine and everything. But we also do we have trivia games every week. We have trivia, so everyone gets on the Zoom call and we kind of do a little competition just to kind of have fun with each other and stuff like that. He's trying to bring guest speakers on and stuff. So yeah.
Awesome.
I'm going to pop in from the admissions point of view and somebody who's on campus and follows a lot of our different sports on Twitter and Facebook and things along those lines. I see women's golf, your coach is always posting stuff on Twitter, focusing on a new player each day. So it's just neat getting the things out there. So if any of you students are are coming in the fall, and definitely follow on Twitter the coaches and follow the teams, because it's a neat way to stay connected with the teams as well.
Awesome. So if I'm an athlete that arrives early in the fall for my sport, so in August, how will rooming and food work? Are those taken care of for me?
So I come to campus 2 weeks early for being on the golf team, and they changed it this year. It used to be a card that you would show to the cafeteria, but this year we got like an additional that we would swipe in place of our IDs. So we have no problem with anything like that. We're still being fed for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And then we just do our whole check-in process 2 weeks early, as any normal student would do. So we would make sure everything is filled out on our My Carthage, check in with the admissions rep and get our IDs going again, get our housing key, get our parking pass, and then we have our assigned time to move in with the other sports teams that we move in with.
Great. Thanks, Zoe. So for the coaches, are there expectations for the off season, or what do your players do during the off season?
That's a good question. I know for my team, when the season's completed, they start lifting in J-term with our strength and conditioning coach, doing some workouts. Then they do some team open gyms where they get together as a group and play volleyball and do some other workouts on their own. And then we get together again, and our non-traditional season is called, we have 16 practice days. So most sports have some activities like that where the teams are lifting. We have great strength and conditioning coaches. We have a beautiful facility for them to get their extra work in. They really like that part, to stay connected. And any way they can find to play together. I know I see a lot of our different athletes doing different things from all the different sports in their off season.
Mike or Zoe, what do you guys do during the off season?
So for volleyball, since we are like a winter/spring sport, right when we get on campus, we have about a week of just school, and then after that week, we start getting into our lifting program with our strength and conditioning coaches, and then we also get into our open gyms, and then we also have our preseason, which is in like October and November, so it's for about a month. And then after that, we start our season in January and then go all the way till April. So it's kind of like a year-round type thing. We're always playing, always getting those extra reps and, putting in the work.
Yeah, for golf, we get on a campus 2 weeks early and have our preseason, and then we have our actual season. And then when the weather starts to turn bad again, we have our off season where we can't be directly in the room with our coaches, so they usually leave workouts for us to do, and then a lot of us are self-motivated and getting into the practice facility by ourselves anyways, so we're always practicing as a team or with each other when we can't be with our coach. And then we'll start our season again in the spring, and then all of us take responsibility in at least playing 2 tournaments in the summer.
Awesome. Kelsey, this question would be for you. Are this year's seniors allowed to come back next year because of the virus? If so, do they have to notify the school that they are returning?
So current seniors here at Carthage, so the NCAA came out with a blanket waiver that allowed our spring athletes to get a season back of participation. So none of our spring athletes, regardless of what year they were charged with a season. So that means that they are able to come back and play another year. And so this is for all of our teams that have spring championships would be included in this group. So it's more than just the seniors, it's all of the spring athletes here at Carthage and at all the schools. So we're seeing some of that, some students that are planning to make sure they use their extra year of eligibility, and then also some seniors are planning to find a way to get that extra year and extend their time at Carthage. And there's a few different ways to do that. So I've already talked with a lot of our current spring student athletes that are seniors and help them kind of map that out, how they could get that extra year and there's grad school, they're able to play with whatever classes that they still have remaining. So there's a few different ways that our athletes are doing that.
Great. Thanks, Kelsey. Do coaches find that athletes from out of state have a harder time adjusting? And how is it handled, or how are they helped to ensure that the athletes are comfortable if they're coming from further away from home?
I think just on our team, we have people from all over the country: California, East Coast, West Coast, Colorado. I guess I shouldn't start naming states because we have pretty good representation. But I don't think they have a harder time adjusting than the rest of the team, because once we're in season, and I'm sure this is true to all the sports, we don't have a lot of downtime. Your time management between academics and athletics needs to be balanced, and they create those friendships and relationships with their teammates almost immediately. And then they have people that they can rely on campus, including the coaches. So I don't think there is a concern for distance from home when you're an athlete.
Great, thanks, Coach. So I'm a high school junior, well, the student's a high school junior, and they want to know, how do I start the recruitment process?
I would kind of echo what Kelsey was mentioning before, just how impactful and meaningful it is when the student athlete themselves reach out to a coach directly. Certainly, the Be Recruited type of programs and companies can be valuable to some people if they really don't know where to start. But I really recommend, more than anything, even more than that, to reach out directly to the coaches of the types of schools that you'd be interested in. That I really think that'll get the ball rolling quicker and in a more meaningful way than really any other way.
Yeah, speaking from like a student athlete perspective, I started my recruiting process very late. So, I knew I wanted to play in college, but I didn't know how to go about the whole recruiting process. No one in my family played collegiate sports, so I really had no idea. So, I just started, when I was looking at colleges where to go, I just started looking at college coaches and finding their emails and just sending stuff out to try and get as much information as possible. And then I think just setting up just visits to go to the college, look at it, look at their facilities and stuff like that. See if it, pairs up with, your academics too, and like what they have to offer other than just athletics. And then I think just another big thing is, going to the camps, especially if you are like an underclassman in high school, get your name out there earlier. I know for volleyball, we have a bunch of underclassmen that come every single summer, and, coaches and, even the players remember those kids every single summer who keep on showing up. So I think just showing up, communicating is a big factor.
Great. This question is for Mike and Zoe. What do you find to be the most challenging being a student athlete? Ooh, they stumped you with this one.
I don't know. I don't really find anything that challenging with it, just because at a D3 level, we are putting our academics first, and everybody agrees with that. Our team sits down all the time and does homework together, and we're all pushing each other to be the best versions of ourselves that we can be. With it being D3, we do have lots of other opportunities to do things on campus. Mike and I are both student ambassadors. We're a National Residence Hall honorary. So sometimes it gets a little frustrating, for me at least, for people in my sorority or those academic fraternities to understand that sometimes I just can't be there because golf and school are my main priorities. But it's all just that balance.
Yeah, I mean, I would say time management, but, I think everyone, especially on my team and then coaches and stuff, we all learn like time management at Carthage especially, and we do a good job of like implementing different things with that. So I really didn't have any trouble with that, but I do know that's a hard time for some students. Kind of going off of what Zoe said, I think just kind of like that balance, you know, between, you know, you have your life in athletics and then you have your life for academics, and then, you know, you also have social life. So it's kind of just like having those like separate lives sort of, and not putting them together, you know, like I'm in school and then if I do bad on an exam or quiz or something like that, like being able to just forget about that and go to practice or a game and just focusing on that rather than focusing on doing bad on an exam. Because I sort of carry that stuff over, and I feel like a lot of athletes may do the same. So, yeah.
This one is for the coaches. You know, what characteristics do you guys look for in your recruits?
That's easy. People who work hard and want to have fun, because you're not going to enjoy your college athletic experience if you don't enjoy the sport you're doing. And if you're not willing to work hard, you're not going to get better. And what's the point? So if those are the two biggest things, and then just what the athletes are just talking about with balance and time management, knowing that academics are first, but being a part of a team. We're competitive coaches and we want to do well and we want you to do well. So giving the time for that too.
Yeah, I think another thing that's important at a school like Carthage is you have to be somewhat self-motivated in the off season. You know, I think what Coach Beth said is important, that you're a hard worker and that you like to give your best all year round and find ways to do that with your teammates, to do that on your own. And just be passionate about, I love students that love Carthage and are excited to come to Carthage and give their best and be part of something that's really exciting.
Yeah, I would just add on top of what I think Leanne's last point was there, that, you know, if we're looking for students where a place like Carthage is the right fit for them. And when you're looking for a school like this, we really knock it out of the park.
Great. For Zoe and Mike, why did you guys choose Carthage? Tell us a little bit about your college search.
Okay. So like I said before, I was very late on the whole recruiting process. So when I first started looking at colleges, I was, like I said, emailing a bunch of coaches, and, you know, I emailed my volleyball coach and he kind of responded back and was like, oh, I'm actually recruiting you, blah, blah, blah. Like, I was just about to email you. So it kind of worked that way. So we were like already like connected, you know? And then so I scheduled a visit, came on campus. So I came on campus during the fall, and going and visiting Carthage during the fall is one of the most beautiful times, with the lake and the trees, and just everything on campus is so nice. So that kind of sold it for me, just like the view and just everything about Carthage. But then obviously, like I said, just the amount of opportunities and the academics available. You know, they had my major, they had plenty of opportunity to get involved with research and just stuff that I wanted to focus on after college. And then just with the opportunities, you know, J-term, being able to study abroad, all the, you know, organizations and clubs, being a part of service and community and stuff like that they had on campus just really resonated with me. And I just knew that once I was on campus, I would be involved with all these things. And it just, you know, seemed like the perfect fit compared to, you know, big universities or just schools like that. So.
Yeah, I was pretty late in my college decision as well. I actually didn't make my decision by May 1st as a senior. I didn't know that I wanted to golf in college. And it's once I got an email from a couple coaches that I was like, oh, wow, I could do this. And I didn't want to let that passion of mine fall yet. So I visited campus in the winter, and I stepped foot on campus and just knew that that's where I was meant to be. A lot of what Mike was saying, the small classrooms, the amount of opportunity that Carthage gave and studying abroad, and the Aspire Center, which it's called now, and having that one-on-one ability to work more with your professors, yeah, I don't want to reiterate everything that Mike just said, but
Zoe, we have
Can
a
I
couple.
can I jump in there real quick too? I worked with Zoe and her dad very, very closely over the time that she came to Carthage, and we can't reiterate that enough. Is it that if you want to talk to somebody at Carthage, whether it is somebody in admissions, whether it is a coach, whether you want to have a conversation with Kelsey about compliance and how to be eligible, or even professors, you want to talk to somebody in the neuroscience department, we want to make sure that we can provide you with all of those options for you to make the best decision possible. And that's what we're there to do.
Zoe, we have a couple football players, recruits from Florida who joined us this evening, and they want to know how cold it really gets.
so being from the Detroit area, I get the other side of the lake effect, and it's actually colder where I went to, but it's honestly not that bad. You'll get used to it. Make sure that you have a pair of winter boots and a winter jacket. That's really all I can say. It's nice. The snow is, as much as I don't like the snow and driving in it and all that stuff, when you're right on Lake Michigan, it is gorgeous.
We had a male swimmer on our team who we give personal days to, and he took a personal day one morning off of morning practice at the end of October to surf in Lake Michigan. So if a California guy can surf at the end of October, beginning of November, I'm sure he'll be fine.
Yeah, our California and Florida student athletes have adjusted just fine. We've had tons of them.
I know a few football players who are from Florida, and they'll make jokes about, wow, I really didn't prepare for this, so
I've yelled at
winter jacket in advance.
yelled at a couple football guys for trying to wear flip-flops like in December.
Yes.
I'm walking to class.
Awesome. So we had such great questions here this evening. You know, as we're wrapping things up, you know, for our students who are watching this evening, if you would like to set up a phone call or a Zoom meeting with a coach, we are more than happy to arrange that for you. You know, when campus is back open, which we hope will be this summer, we'd love to set up a one-on-one meeting with you and a tour of campus. And then this fall to have you visit with classes are in session. So there's so many ways to stay connected with the faculty and staff here as you're going through the college search. You know, as we are wrapping up the conversation, you know, if each of you could just give kind of your words of advice, you know, as these students, both high school seniors are trying to make their final decision, and then high school juniors as they're starting their college search, but just any words of advice as they're going through this process.
I think it's important to be proactive. Get out there, juniors, like we talked about earlier, contact the coaches, research the schools that you're really interested in. You know, bigger schools, smaller schools, whatever variety you're looking for. Don't be afraid to contact the coaches. That's what we do. We'd love to speak with you. You can talk with the admissions department, as has been said earlier. Just get as much information as you can. Visit the schools that you're really interested. Get on campus, get a feel for that. You're going to want to come back a few times. For juniors, once same thing. You know, for seniors trying to make a decision, I'm still talking to some student athletes. I know it's tough right now if you still haven't decided because it's hard to get back on campus. But just communicate with your coach. Ask them to be as honest as possible about how you fit and where you fit, and you know, just try to get a good feel from that, but just be proactive. We'd be excited to have you just talk to all the coaches that you're interested in.
Yeah, kind of going off of what Coach Ulmer is saying, I think, you know, when you're looking at colleges and where you want to go, I think, you know, a college says more than just, you know, pictures on Google and stuff like that and what they have to offer. So I think definitely looking into like what teams you want to play for, you know, where you want to play, like just looking at all the stuff that they have to offer besides, you know, what the school looks like and the social life, you know. So I think it's very important to look into the teams, you know, come on visits, meet the players, meet the professors, you know, that's who you're going to be spending the next 4 years with. So I think that's very important when you're making your college decision.
Who's next?
You are.
What you guys are saying is great. So I'm gonna use my time to give a little shout out to a couple of people that I see on this thing. I see Niall from down in the Oak Park area. I know you're a senior, great swimmer. People asking some great questions. I think I see the Cooter family on there from Iowa. If you guys have a couple of specific questions we didn't get to, just hit me up. Send me an email or a call. Love to talk to you again.
Yeah, communication is a great idea across the board, no matter where you are at in the process. Be honest with the coach, be honest with admissions, what you're looking for, because that's going to be the most helpful for you and us, because we can connect you with your needs if we know what you're looking for. And then just when you're able to come on campus and meet faculty, like Mike said, and meet the team, because they're going to be the people that you spend the most time with, and you want to feel good about that.
So I think just really have a good understanding of what is most important to you, and it's kind of getting back to what Mike said and what Coach Ulmer said. Just know when you're looking at schools, what's number one for you, what's most important. Is it, whatever academic program they offer? If you're looking to play, for a team specifically, if that's, could be most important. If you're looking for location. So I think just having a good ranking just as you're looking and trying to make a decision, just to really make sure it is the best fit, so you can spend your entire collegiate career at that school and get the most out of it the entire time.
I would just say don't be afraid to reach out and ask questions. Ben still hears from my father and I now. We had a phone call with him last week. Take your time in making that decision and what you want as a student and as an athlete.
Awesome. Thanks everyone for all the great information, and thank you to all of our visitors who came on this evening. If you do have specific questions for the coaches, please reach out to us here in admissions and we can get you connected with them individually. But we hope that you have a great night, and thanks again for joining.